Good morning, friends, and thank you, sir, for your kind words of introduction and allowing me to be the part of this instruction course. And covering, I think, the important topics which are related to our day-to-day practice. Mediclaim has considerably changed in past decade or so. Let's have a look at exactly what the scenario is. When you look at Mediclaim policy, the parties involved could be the policyholder, which is the patient, the service provider, that is either the hospital or an individual doctor, the insurance company, which are nationalized insurance companies, the 4 of them, and there are multiple private insurance companies, the third party administrator, the agent which is selected by that particular insurance company to settle the accounts, and the Insurance Regulatory Act, the committee which is set up by the Government of India. So these are the various people who are involved in this particular setup. Now let's see how does it work. I think this is one of the key factors which you need to remember, that the policyholder or the patient is in agreement with the insurance company. He signs the document with the insurance company and pays the premium to the insurance company. The insurance company assigns the settlement to TPA, and both of them, insurance company and TPA, are in agreement with each other. The service provider, that is the doctors, we enter into the agreement, if at all, if it is a cashless practice, or we have to approach the TPA for the reimbursement through the patient. In other words, if you look at it, there is no direct relationship here because there is no tripartite or three-party agreement in this entire scenario. Patient is in agreement with the insurance company goes to the TPA, and we doctors have to settle with TPA. We have no relationship in between with the insurance company directly, and that is one of the basic loophole in this entire setup which we need to counter. Now let's look at the reimbursement. Obviously, the patient's perspective would be that he would not like to prefer the reimbursement, he would like to go for a cashless practice. That's primarily because the patient has to pay the money upfront if it is reimbursement. Patient will fear that there are going to be number of queries raised by the insurance company, and they will have to keep on replying to those particular queries. They will have to make frequent visits to those particular company TPAs and things like that, and hence there are multiple hassles, as you can see over here. When you look at a cashless practice, all these things which you have seen as a hassle for the patient has come as a hassle for the doctor. It is not only that, but there are many other things which we will see in future in the further slides as well. From the service provider point of view, that is from the doctor or the hospital point of view, if we have reimbursement, then the money is received instantly by the doctor. So he is not bothered about the financial aspect at all. He has no hassle of dealing with the third party administrator. But the problems are, which is the basic thing, all the service providers in the vicinity should refrain from the cashless practice. Suppose if there is one person who is not practicing cashless and there is another person who is practicing cashless, then obviously from the patient's perspective point of view, he would prefer to go to the other doctor unless and until the services which are provided are grossly different, or the capability of the another doctor is completely different, or the faith of the patient makes him go over there. From the premium surgery point of view, this is one observation which we have made now, that the patients are reluctant to go for the higher end surgeries primarily because of the cap and primarily because they have to shell out large amount of money right in the beginning before undergoing the surgery altogether. Now let us look at cashless versus reimbursement. In cashless, pre-authorization is required. That means we have to apply to the third-party administration, and the third-party administration will give us the authorization for X amount. The basic problem over here is that when you get that authorization, there is no restriction on any explanation as far as the third-party administration is concerned. Third-party administration can abruptly say that, okay, 24,000 rupees sanction for a multifocal lens with flex, femtolaser cataract surgery and so on and so forth. They don't have to give any explanation why 24,000. That is one basic loophole which you see over here. But if it is reimbursement, and if the third-party administrator has deducted any amount, even a rupee, then they have to explain why this particular rupee has been deducted. So this is one thing which we need to remember, that in cashless practice, when you go for the reimbursement through the patient, it's a different entity altogether between the two topics. Now there is a cap which the Mediclaim policies have put up, and that cap unfortunately is different with different companies. It is different for different types of surgeries, and it is different at different type of insurance policy holders we see. Let's take an example. Suppose if I am an individual person who has taken an insurance, the applicable laws by the same company for the same type of surgery in the same setup is going to be different than if I am having my insurance through the corporate body. Like, let's say I am a bank employee and there are 1,000 people who have taken the insurance. Moment I have a corporate insurance, the policy is liberalized to a large extent. At present, in most of the cities, we find that 24,000 is the cap, which is one of the most unreasonable cap, as I would say, in a cataract practice as on today. The problems of pre-existing disease is another thing which we need to understand as far as the Mediclaim policy is concerned. How can you say that this cataract is 364 days old or 366 days old? If the policy says that you will have to have 1 year lapse after you have taken a policy to get reimbursement, how do you decide whether it is 364 days or 366 days? No one can decide. And not only that, but you need to understand that if, yes, I'll just sum up you need to understand that there is something like a retroactive date. If the retroactive date means there is a lapse of 1 day, you may be having insurance for last 15 years, but in the last policy, you lapsed by 1 day, then your retroactive date has become only 1 year, and hence you will not be entitled for the claim. If the policy says that less than 1 year, you will not be allowed to take the Mediclaim benefits. Problems of cosmetic surgery again is another thing. There are example ptosis, for example, and the general problems, as you would understand, that the no proper guidelines are there. Often the money deducted on the various pretexts are quite different. And the last part which I would like to say, how do we get to counter this particular problem? The most important thing, I think, is get united. Bombay has shown a pathway to that particular thing. Today in Bombay, there are just about 30 people who are doing cashless out of more than 1,000 eye surgeons, and hence that unity has reflected into the entire practice. We are very, very happy with cashless practice. I would certainly encourage more people to go for this particular thing. If you need any help, we are always there to help you out. Thank you very much for your